Coming up on this episode, we'll be talking about the LA group stage of the Overwatch World Cup. More specifically, Team USA. Next on Nerdcaster. Hey, welcome back to Nerdcaster. We'll be talking about the Overwatch World Cup. This episode will be a little shorter than most, as we'll be bringing you a bigger, better, badder episode next week with a review of the new PS4 Spider-Man game. And, yeah, that's about it. Anything you want to add to that, Lori?
Well, thank you for the introduction. Yes, I'm on this week's episode. Talking about Overwatch and the couple of matches we were able to catch on Sunday and throughout the weekend. Go Team USA. It's obvious who I support. I'm a huge Houston Outlaws fan, so of course my support goes to Team USA. Although it was really hard in the USA-Canada match, kind of, to watch Bonnie and Raucus
go head-to-head.
Go head-to-head. It just seemed so unnatural, but of course, Raucus is my favorite support. I main a Zenyatta just because of him, so sorry Bonnie, and sorry Team Canada, because they got rocked by US.
You feel like they got rocked?
They got rocked. They were totally annihilated by the US team.
I feel like some of the maps were a little bit close, and USA squeaked it out, but I think the 3-1 ending result isn't as telling as good as the matches were. I thought they were pretty well fought. I was really expecting this to go down to the wire. I thought there were going to be more. Like we would go to a map 5.
I thought we were definitely going map 5, and that more of the matches, they were going to go kind of neck and neck. There was, I think the only map they really did go neck and neck was when Canada won in Anubis. I felt like that was really close. But yeah, no, I thought Canada they hadn't lost a map to anybody up until this point, and.
So with that being said, I want to go back to last year's World Cup for a second, where Canada placed silver medalist, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, just double checking. And USA placed what, 4th or 5th? They were in the quarterfinals, but lost outright to Korea in the first round of the quarters.
Yes.
Now, if the roles were switched last year, would we have seen Team USA as the silver medalists? And Canada, if they had to play Korea in the quarterfinals, have been dropped that quick as well? Do you think no matter who played South Korea last year would be in the same spot USA was? And if USA had Canada's spot last year, would we be where they were last year? Sorry about that.
I was going to say, we got Christian Bale as a second special guest on today's episode.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Korea was going to win gold last year. I didn't really want to admit it, but after watching them play and annihilate the U.S. team and again in Canada, I thought the U.S. and Canada team were really comparable last year. That's why I thought in this group stage it was going to be much more neck and neck than it was. And I was a huge fan of course, as soon as the U.S. lost, I was like, all my chips in were with Canada. And just like they got killed by Pine and Flower and all of
Sable Yobi.
Yeah.
All of the South Korean team is just like unbeatable. They're like gods at Overwatch.
Yeah, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with, and I still feel that way this year. I don't think I don't want to jump too much ahead, but my prediction is who's going to take the whole thing. I would love to say it's USA. If I had to be realistic, though, it's the Koreans. They're a force to be reckoned with.
Yep.
U.S. would definitely be the underdog if they're going to go, and that's going to be be the finals.
I agree. I think South Korea is definitely the favorite to win. I do strongly feel that they are going to win. As much as I am rooting for Team USA and hope they come out on top, I do think they have a better chance this year than last year with the introduction of Brigida, Hammond, the new map Rialto. These are all things that that haven't been able to be practiced on as much as they were with the maps and characters last year. You know what I mean?
I do, and the metas now have.
There's plenty of different metas now.
Yeah, the Koreans they perfected the dive meta. The dive meta is all Korea,
and now there's an anti-dive meta, especially with bringing in Brigida. And if the U.S. can hone that in and play to the South Korean weaknesses, maybe they could squeak it out. It'll be tough. It'll be very tough.
When you put it like that, I can definitely see it, because it's in the past you've just seen these teams just try to outdive Korea, and that's just not going to happen. But putting it the way that you're saying it,
I'm changing your mind. You're going
my
more
mind's
50-50
not totally
here?
changed,
yeah.
But it seems more viable now.
You think the U.S. has a better shot?
They have a
now
little
that
bit
I
of a
put
better
it that
shot,
way.
yes. And even Raucus, they interviewed Raucus after they won against Canada, and he feels really confident. Although it's kind of like this sort of false confidence I kind of see in that, because you can tell they're still nervous. They're playing the best in the world, and it's a little, it's humbling for sure. But he says they have a lot more experience now with the Overwatch League in playing against the Eastern teams, and they need that kind of experience in order to face off with them appropriately in the World Cup. So it'll definitely be interesting. I hope they win.
I'm definitely looking forward more to this year's Overwatch World Cup than I did last year. Last year was great. Last year was the first esports I've ever watched was the World Cup, especially since we bought the virtual ticket for BlizzCon. Leading up to it was great because I knew I was going to be able to watch the finals. And now this year I've been investing in OWL the entire season, and now we're back to the World Cup again, and I'm definitely looking forward. And I do think with all the practice from the OWL, like you said, Team USA definitely has a way better chance than they did last year. But as far as Ruckus goes and his being confident, I think it's misplaced confidence. I think it's more of him trying to juice up the rest of his team and pretend like they have confidence. But I think, they're scared. I don't think they believe in themselves as much as I'd like to believe that they believe in themselves.
I think that they know it's hard, and I'm glad that they know that.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think if he says, well, we're confident we're going to win, I'm hoping they're practicing their balls off to back that confidence up, where maybe the South Koreans are like, hey, we got this in the bag. Look at how many matches we even won in Overwatch, the Overwatch League. I mean, all of New York Excelsior was pretty much South Korean team. Sable, Yobi, Pine. I believe Flower was even supposed to be on that team. I don't know what happened with that. But now they've played them, like you said. Do they have that confidence now that they've been able to play them? They see their styles. Now are they going back and watching the tapes? Are they trying to see how, like, does Sable Yobi have a tell? Are they going back to try and find those things? And is South Korea now overconfident where they're like, we're just going to go in and win? Because New York Excelsior did pull that card. They fell asleep or something during one of the playoffs before their match, and it ruined them. They weren't able to come out victorious in one of those playoff spots. So do they have that overconfidence?
They might, but you're looking at, and this is not to say I don't think that U.S. is going to win just because of this, but it's definitely a factor, is that Houston Outlaws team is comprised of all former, well, not all, but most, former U.S. team. And this year you've got, you've obviously got Raucus and you've got Muma, but Houston had a terrible showing the first year of OWL, and they had a great start. They were, they were in the playoffs. They were, definite contenders to take the top spot, but they just kind of lost their momentum, and then they weren't able to recover from that from any of the stages after that.
Well, is that why we don't have so many of them this year as Team USA? Like, we lost Jake. I don't remember who else.
I think Cool Matt.
Right,
was also
Matt.
on Team USA. But and I love that team. That's why, despite the fact that it's not in, my hometown by any means, that I supported that team. And I thought they had a really cool ass logo. They still do.
Their logo's pretty dope. I mean, I'm a New York Excelsior fan, and their logo's meh at best. But I think with the new lineup, I think they look pretty spicy. with this showing at the Overwatch World Cup, especially beating the silver medal team who didn't drop a map the entire group. And if they can do that, and they only lost one map themselves. Team USA only dropped one map, correct?
They dropped one to Canada. Before they played Canada.
Yes, they dropped one map.
Dropped the map before
so
then.
They were like neck and neck going into this match. And then, you know, if we're going with what you say and they blew Canada away, that makes them look really good to be number 2. Number 2 or number 1, obviously being in the finals. But they didn't play South Korea in the group stage, so we don't know how that matchup's going to look. And does Team USA have something up their sleeves for them?
I hope so. I hope I see something a little bit different. Again, you have other comps than, you know, the dive, and I think that'll definitely make the World Cup more interesting.
And their coach, the smarmy looking guy, I don't remember his name.
I thought they both looked pretty smarmy.
Yeah. But he makes it sound like he's got some plans. Like he didn't show everything that's up his sleeve yet, and I kind of like that. I kind of hope he does.
I don't believe him for a second.
Well,
I think they all say that. They all say that because you have to have some kind of reason to, you know, get psyched out. It's just like what kind of psychology are you playing to kind of, you know, because you know the other teams and the other group stages are watching. They're watching what their competitors are going to be like. You know, and the Koreans, they're a smart team. They got smart management, smart players. They're watching they're watching this. So if you know the Team USA coaches that their biggest strength is adaptability, which, to be honest, I didn't really see all that much. They ran the same types of comps I mean, maybe they didn't need to adapt all that much, but when they were on Anubis, this was the 3rd map they played with Canada.
They really didn't change
there
comps
wasn't a
too
lot
much,
of changing.
yeah.
There wasn't a lot of changing comps or strategies that kind of let Canada run all over them. And maybe they didn't need the win that desperately, and Canada did, and they just played, you know, with the desperation that they needed just to even make it to map 4. I didn't see a lot of adaptability from US. I thought it felt like an empty claim to me when he said it.
But well, that's just it. Did they not need the adaptability, so they didn't use it to keep it up their sleeve?
You got to keep on your toes because you've seen reverse sweeps. You see it. You don't see it all the time, but you've seen them, and that would have been a mistake for the US to kind of like, oh well, you know what, we can afford to lose map 3. That's how Houston is really operated. I watched them lose games because of a reverse sweep. They have a really strong beginning. They get a little comfortable, and then they lose.
But with if it was going to go to the reverse sweep, if Canada did pick up that 4th map, the control point is where the USA excelled on Canada during that match. So I think they felt comfortable if it went to a map 5, they would be able to roll them again. I'm not saying that's a good thing, and they should not feel that way at all. You know, Canada could have came out sleepy and then woke up and whatnot. But is that the way they could have been thinking? I think it might be. I'm not in their heads, but
maybe. My favorite player, I mean, aside from Bonnie, because of course he plays for Houston, but my favorite player on Team Canada is Agilities.
I do like Agilities.
He's I watched when he plays for Valiant.
Yes, he was one of my favorites. Even watching the Overwatch League, I would watch Valiant matches specifically for him when I wasn't watching Houston, or actually I watch all the teams, but I like watching him play.
Yeah. It seemed kind of odd just to see like the performance again going from their from their World Cup teams into their pro teams, and Agilities did not have a great beginning of the season at all for the Valiant, and then he definitely built his momentum over time, and I think it's a little bit of a different world when you're playing professionally in this type of environment, because you have to really give Blizzard a lot of respect for turning this into a viable broadcasted sport.
It's now on ESPN3. Like, they have an ESPN deal now. That's crazy. But not only that, but like usually when you're playing, I don't know about any other esports, but when you're playing at home, you don't have an audience watching you in a giant arena.
No.
So even just that, while you're sitting behind a computer screen, there's a whole crowd in front of you watching this game you're playing. And I don't know in their headsets if they can hear the crowd. I don't see how they couldn't. But you're playing this game with a giant crowd in front of you, and whether you win or lose, you got to stand up and face them.
Yeah.
That's got to be what's the word? Nerve-wracking to begin with.
It adds another level of pressure for sure.
Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to say. That there.
Back to Team Canada players. Just one player I definitely didn't expect to see in this lineup, and that's XQC. Given all his trouble with the OWL this last year, he got booted off the league for his behavior on Twitch, and him, I believe he made some kind of, he made a lot of comments on Twitter that were very unseemly. I don't remember exactly what they were. I have an idea, but without knowing for sure exactly what it was that he said, I think it was against Muma, and you got booted off. And it wasn't even his first infraction. It was a second or a third, I believe. Repeat offender. So they booted him out. He didn't really seem much to care. His Twitch channel is doing as great as it ever has been. And, he's not, he was not hurting for that $50,000 salary, not by a long shot. But
he was also suspended just before this began, and there was speculation that he wouldn't even be able to play because his account would be locked out. So I don't know if they lifted that just for the World Cup or if his suspension ended before it started. But there was he did recently just get banned again.
But even with like his conduct, so like I'm sure there are two schools of thought when it comes to this. Like should your behavior really be governed by a code of conduct, even when you're playing for, essentially, it's a World Cup. It's not, this isn't the pros. This is a completely different level, and it's.
But you're representing your nation,
right? So it seems so. Because Canada decided that they were going to use him for the team, it seems so very mercenary to me. Like, yeah, he's an amazing, amazing player. But, like, so you should be able to overlook all this bullshit that, he did and said and whatever, just because he's amazing and Canada needs him. Again, it just seems very mercenary. And there's going to be, people who think completely differently, and I don't know what I'm talking about. And maybe I don't. I don't know what the rules are, and I'm far from a person to be saying, like, who should be able to play and who, shouldn't. But all I'm saying is that I was surprised.
I was surprised to see him play more for the fact that he recently just got banned again. Why would they want that on not on their conscience, but it would be something that they have to live with? Is this going to follow him onto their team? And that's what I'd be more worried about, of people looking at it as like he's a dickbag, for lack of a better term, playing for Canada. And do you really want that bad press of this guy playing? Again, his numbers on Twitch outdo, I guess, anything, and I guess he either got the ban lifted and everything, and Canada want him, whatever. Don't bother me any, but I am too surprised that they even chose him after everything he's been through. Is he past his prime in the game too?
So, follow-up question: Do you think you'll see him in the pros next year?
No. He's done. I don't think we'll see him in the pros next year. I don't think any team wants to touch him, especially with the league rules. I feel that they're trying to go for more of a role model type thing. Like they are professional players. Kids like 12 and up who play this game look up to these people who are like gods of the game, and they want to keep an image of being wholesome to a point.
They
yeah,
want a very Disney.
They don't want keyboard cowboys out there running their mouth behind a keyboard, being cyber bullies. I think that's more of what it has to do with.
Yeah, and cyberbullying's such a huge thing now. As it should be, because it's a real thing, and I commend Blizzard for even taking action as swiftly as they did, because you'll get a lot of.
Well, I don't know if they took action as swiftly as they should. Their rule book didn't come out until like 3 months into the league.
Right, but I mean considering it was its first year, and it's a lot of these guys, they're young guys, and they make mistakes, and they gave him what I liked is that they gave him a chance in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then, I was kind of like hoping, because XQC, I voted for him for MVP last year in the World Cup. Really big fan. When he was on Dallas, I was disappointed, when he got booted off, and, to see, he got his hands, slapped a little bit, and then it just, after, when it was kind of like he obviously didn't care, that's kind of when I was just like, you lose a little respect for somebody after that, because it's,
you're playing this on a professional stage now, and you're just spitting in people's faces.
Kind of. It's just like as an anti-establishment as you can be, and I respect that, but you just have a lot of people that look up to you at that point, and so it's just disappointing. It's disappointing, but that doesn't take away from his gameplay. I think he had a really strong showing in this match. I don't want to say he carried, but like he did a lot of work. He did a lot of damage. For Canada.
Yeah, he played his job well. I mean, Canada, if you're looking at it from a perspective of wanting to make the next round and making the best team you could possibly make, he definitely deserves his spot on that team.
A lot of Canada did, they got spanked by the Americans, but they also, so by map 3, they were the top 4 damage dealt, or the damage dealing players, were all from Canada. So it just came down also to efficiency. They weren't able to just get the kills. They just weren't able to kind of follow through and finish off people. You saw them do that more in Anubis, and you saw them in Rialto. I thought Canada was going to win Rialto at the end.
Actually, that is the map when I was talking about like things being close. Anubis was definitely close with Canada winning. Rialto was
I didn't
really
think
close
Anubis
too.
was that close.
Really?
I thought USA eked by that first point. If nobody ever gets caught by a D.VA bomb, let alone 3 players, and that was the sort of that Hail Mary that just worked out for the U.S. If the U.S. won that map, they wouldn't have deserved to have won that
My
map.
D.VA bomb gets like 2 people when I use it.
We're in bronze.
Silver.
Whatever.
We worked our way up.
Okay.
We put work in. But, so, what do you see going forward with the World Cup and all the teams as a whole? Where do you see Canada ending up? Where do you see we've pretty much talked about where we see U.S. and Korea ending up. But how far do you see Canada going, since this was the main stage we've watched to this point?
I think you're going to see Canada in the quarters. You can see Canada in the quarters.
Do you see them making it to semis?
I don't know. I haven't, without seeing so much from the other groups. I don't know if I can say that for sure.
Saying that, the reason, and by the way, the reason we haven't really, or I have not really watched other groups, is because they're on at 1 a.m. our time. So it makes it really difficult for us to watch them unless we're going to watch the VODs later, which I don't know. I'm just not a fan of, because I've already seen who won. But I think it does depend who Canada plays. I do see Canada making the semifinals. That's my prediction. I don't see them beating. Actually, no, I don't see them making the semifinals. They got to play South Korea first. They got to. So, yeah, never mind. Change my mind. Roll that back. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think I pretty much said all I had to say about it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Go Team USA. You want to say hi to USA? I was hoping you would back me up on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get the memo.
No.
Yeah, go Team USA. We hope man, I really hope you take first place. I would love to see you beat the Korean team, but if not, Joe, I'm pretty sure, as a New York Excelsior fan, you're not going to mind too much. You're not going to be butthurt over it.
I won't be, because I do like watching Pine and Sable Yobi and Flower. I don't even know who's on the South Korean team this year. The whole lineup may have changed. Again, haven't been able to watch that stage because of time reasons. But I don't think I would be. But I am definitely rooting for Team USA. I do hope they go all the way. They're number 1. We believe. That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that. All right. Well, then, I think that does it for the episode. Mm-hmm. Drop us a line at hello@nerdcaster.com. Talk to us about, your predictions. If you want to, talk about, how bullshit you think my opinion is about XQC, you're more than welcome. Follow us on, on Facebook and Instagram at Nerdcaster, on Twitter at nerd_caster.
That's correct.
Right? I'm not a Twitter person, so I'm going to probably get that wrong all the time. And subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play,
Stitcher,
Spotify, and we're starting to get some traction on YouTube. By traction, we're starting some uploads. So if you prefer a little bit more video content, which we're slowly but steadily progressing with, subscribe to us on YouTube, and you'll be able to see a little bit more content than just our podcast uploads. We will have additional things coming soon for your viewing enjoyment. So again, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you guys next week for the Spider-Man episode.
Yeah, thank you for doing the outro, too.
You're welcome.
Nerdcaster out.